today was an ounce of gold 100 years ago. The point I'm trying to make is it can never, ever go bankrupt. It can never, ever default. Every currency on the planet is fiat. Every fiat currency is backed by debt. Now, are there nations that are going to go belly up, go bankrupt? Yeah, absolutely. An ounce of gold it used to be that currency, because currencies were derivatives of gold.
After the U.S. abandoned the dollar gold standard in 1971, many central banks initially reduced their gold reserves. However, following the global financial crisis of 2008, demand for gold resurged. In the interim, stable currencies such as the Deutsche Mark, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, British pound sterling, and from 2002 onwards, the euro became popular as reserve currencies for central banks. For a long time, the euro was the second most sought-after reserve currency after the US dollar, holding a share of up to 20%. According to recent data from Bank of America, gold has now overtaken the euro as the second largest reserve asset, a shift largely driven by central banks' sustained gold buying spree. This trend has multiple causes, including the heightened demand for gold as a safe haven amid geopolitical tensions. Additionally, many emerging countries are making efforts to reduce their reliance on the US dollar. Another critical factor behind gold's increased weighting in foreign currency reserves is its price, which has surged by over 40% in the past 12 months. Precious metals analyst and expert Bill Holter points out that an ounce of gold minted 100 years ago remains the exact same ounce of gold today. In contrast, paper currencies from that time may no longer exist or have become worthless. Holter believes that all currencies today are fiat, meaning they are backed by debt rather than tangible assets. While many nations may face bankruptcy due to their reliance on fiat currencies, gold will never face such a fate, as it was once the foundation of these currencies, which were originally derivatives of gold. With the central bank's gold buying spree over the last several years, along with the rapid rise in price in 2024, the yellow metal now makes up about 16% of total reserve assets, just ahead of the euro. Stick around for the full video, and if you find it helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. We're excited to see more of you joining our community. With only 11% subscribed so far, help us hit that 1,000 milestone.
An ounce of gold that was minted 100 years ago is still that same ounce of gold. It hasn't gotten bigger. It hasn't gotten smaller. It's still just an ounce of gold. If you bought, name umpteen different currencies 100 years ago, and you actually, you got the paper for it, you have the paper, whatever they are, those currencies, there's been a lot of currencies that have gone to zero, don't exist anymore, and that's simply, a collectible item if it's in perfect shape. Confederate dollars. There's an example. It's still just a Confederate dollar. It was a Confederate dollar then. It's still a Confederate dollar now, but it has no value. The whole idea, when I say gold is an ounce of gold today was an ounce of gold 100 years ago, the point I'm trying to make is it can never, ever go bankrupt. It can never, ever default. Every currency on the planet is fiat. Every fiat currency is backed by debt. Now, are there nations that are going to go belly up, go bankrupt? Yeah, absolutely. An ounce of gold it used to be that currency, because currencies were derivatives of gold. Think about the names: the peso, the pound.
The pound sterling, specifically.
Yeah, the pound sterling. Right. The lira, all of the peseta, all of these currencies, their names invoke weight. In other words, how much it actually weighs. All of these currencies, every currency, with the exception of the euro, I believe, all currencies were derivatives of gold, and they were priced in gold. And what's happened is the governments have tried to demonetize gold. So yeah, the price of gold goes up and down in dollars. It goes up and down in euros and yen and pounds. When you see gold going up $100 an ounce, 200, 500, 1,000, whatever, function of the value of the dollar declining. The dollar is losing purchasing power. It's losing value versus the standard, and the standard is gold. Gold is the bedrock. It does not change. It's the currencies that change.
Recently, markets have significantly reduced their expectations for a 50 basis point rate cut at the Federal Reserve's upcoming policy announcement on November 7th, with the likelihood dropping from over 50% just a week ago. This shift in sentiment has led to an increase in government bond yields, with the benchmark 10-year Treasury yield reaching 4% for the first time in 2 months on Monday. This marks an increase of 2 basis points on the day, following a notable rise of 13 basis points on Friday. According to Bill Holter, the U.S. Treasury is in a dire financial situation, and, mathematically, the Treasury's toast. Holter emphasizes that the interest expense is unsustainable, now consuming 25% to 30% of federal receipts, pushing the country toward an inevitable default. He believes that no action can reverse this trajectory, stating, "The cake is baked, it's on fire, and you need a fire extinguisher." In his view, the financial situation has deteriorated to the point where a collapse is unavoidable. Now let's redirect our attention to a video.
Mathematically, the Treasury's toast. I mean, we're at the point now paying over $1 trillion a year. It'll be at $1.5 trillion by this time next year in interest alone. And that is well more now than what we pay or spend each year for the military. And our military spends more than all the militaries combined for the rest of the world. So our interest expense as far as compared to receipts, what's the number now? 25%, 30%? We're at the point where mathematically we are going to default. There is, I've said this before, the only possibility of the math being wrong or the math being repaired would be the second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's not Donald Trump. I mean, the alternative. And let me say something. First off, I still not sure there's going to be an election. I think every day that goes by, more and more things happen that rate or lower the odds that we're even going to have an election. Who knows? But in my opinion, if Harris gets in, the Republic is completely over, and it will collapse with no rule of law. It'll collapse with their rule of law. If Donald Trump wins, the collapse is still going to come, but we will go down under the Constitution, and the rule of law will still prevail. Now, as far as is there anything that can be done? The answer is a flat no. It's already been done. This cake is baked. It's on fire. You need a fire extinguisher for this thing. There is no way out. And let me just add this from a human standpoint. While the Great Depression was horrible, a lot of people lost everything. From a society standpoint, it was a much better society. You had neighbors that were willing to help neighbors. In today's world, and not in all locations, but let me just say in the urban areas, neighbors are gonna pick clean other neighbors that have fallen just like vultures. Now, you do have some good people out there. Look what's going on in North Carolina. You have people trying to help left and right, and what's going on? And you've even got local sheriffs now saying, we're gonna arrest federal workers if they get in the way. If you're not going to help, don't get in the way. Don't be part of the problem. Just get out of the way. So the other thing from the Great Depression, we didn't have a government that was broke. We didn't have a government that was bankrupt. At this point in time, we have a treasury that's spending over $1 trillion interest per year, and we have a Federal Reserve that all you have to do is look at their numbers. Their balance sheet is now upside down. I mean, because interest rates have gone up, the bond portfolios have dropped $250 billion. Well, that $65 billion is gone. There is no equity at all in the Federal Reserve holding up a $9 trillion balance sheet that is going to have to blow up to 15, 20, 30, 50 trillion dollars when the financial system goes upside down, because they are the lender of last resort. And they also will be the buyer of only resort for U.S. Treasuries.
Central bank gold buying in 2023 continued to build on the previous year's record levels, with total purchases in 2022 reaching 1,136 tons, the highest net purchases recorded since 1950, following the suspension of dollar convertibility into gold in 1971. Concurrently, the share of dollars in global reserves has decreased by 14% since the turn of the century, as reported by the Atlantic Council. This decline in demand for treasuries could lead to rising interest rates, even as the Federal Reserve attempts to keep them low. This situation poses a significant challenge for the debt-laden U.S. economy, which struggles to function effectively even in a normal interest rate environment. How do you foresee the relationship between gold and other assets evolving in the current economic climate? Share your feedback in the comments below. If you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to keep up with our latest updates. We appreciate you being a part of this journey.